To my amazing audience, I just want to say thank you to every single one of you for subscribing to this channel. You are the reason this space exists. To all new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe, thank you as well. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that keeps this storytelling engine running. Please, do not forget to engage in the comments. Share your thoughts. Share your emotions. Let us grow this community together. Now, let me take you into a story that still tastes like fire in my mouth. Her voice was coated in honey, but every word stabbed me like glass. She laughed into the phone as she described how my husband liked to be touched. She described my bed, my sheets, my husband's moans. And then she said, "You are just his wife. I am his woman." She did not know who I was. She did not know that the salary she bragged about came from a chain of companies I controlled. And in that moment, I realized something deadly. The only thing more dangerous than a wife betrayed is a woman who has been humiliated by a little girl sleeping beneath her crown. My name is Melanie Grant. I live in suburban Atlanta. I am 38 years old. I am a proud mother of 2 boys, a senior partner in a corporate investment firm, and, until 4 weeks ago, I thought I had a happy marriage. My husband, Brian Grant, is the kind of man people trust at first sight. He is tall, warm-smiled, and sharp in suits. He sells million-dollar homes for a living, but what he sells best is lies. We had been married for 12 years. I met him when I was still building my career. He made me feel like a queen in a world where women like me are told to pick either the boardroom or the bedroom. With Brian, I thought I could have both. I was wrong. It started like this. One evening, I was reviewing quarterly performance reports in my home office. The boys were upstairs, and Brian had claimed he was stuck at a late dinner with a client. My phone rang. It was a private number. At first, I thought it might be my assistant or one of my board members. Instead, I heard a giggle. Feminine. Young. Confident. Then she spoke. "Is this Melanie Grant? Brian's wife?" I stood up. My hands trembled slightly. "Yes." "Who is this?" "Oh, just someone who had your husband in her mouth less than an hour ago. Just wanted you to know what he tastes like after a long day of pretending to be loyal." I did not speak. I could not. My blood rushed to my head. My knees weakened. She laughed again. She was enjoying this. "I just wanted to tell you that you should stop wasting money on lingerie. He said you do not even wear them right. He likes red. Lacy. Tight. Like what I wore last night. Or maybe I should say, like what I took off last night." I still said nothing. Silence was all I could offer as she continued describing him, describing things that no outsider should have access to. She was not guessing. She knew. Every detail. "You do not sound so strong now, Miss Boss Lady," she hissed. "You think being a CEO makes you a wife? Please. You are a glorified roommate. You cannot keep a man. He needs me for what you do not give." Then she hung up. I collapsed onto my leather chair. My perfectly curated world, polished and powerful, crashed into a puddle of sweat and disbelief. At that moment, I felt every drop of my womanhood pour out of me. I felt ugly. I felt stupid. I felt betrayed in a way that burned deeper than pain. It was shame. Brian came home 2 hours later. I did not speak. I did not look up. I simply said, "Dinner is in the oven." He did not notice the way my hands were clenched or how the wine glass I held was trembling. Or maybe he did, and just pretended not to. After our second son, I noticed Brian's touch became mechanical. Quick kisses. Late meetings. More golf. Less eye contact. I excused it. I told myself it was stress. Midlife. Marriage. But deep inside, I knew. My body knew. My soul knew. I just refused to confront it. Until now. I did not cry that night. Instead, I walked into my private study and pulled out the old file cabinet from my locked drawer. That mistress had no idea. She thought I was just a woman in heels playing house. She did not know that I owned the parent company of over 17 marketing firms in Georgia. She did not know I had eyes in tech, real estate, law, and finance. And she certainly did not know that her little voice, so proud, so mocking, sounded just like one of the junior agents who worked for a subsidiary I acquired last year. I had a name now. I had a face. And I had a plan. I needed to know everything. Her full name. Where she worked. Who her manager was. What she earned. What documents she had signed. I needed to study her the way I would a hostile acquisition. I wanted to destroy her quietly. And I wanted Brian to watch. But first, I needed confirmation. Real, tangible evidence. I installed a tracker on Brian's car. I bought a burner phone and hired a private investigator. Within 3 days, I had photographs. Video. Receipts. Hotel logs. He was not just sleeping with her. He had taken her to our beach house in Savannah. The house my father left for me. The same house where we renewed our vows. I did not scream. I did not confront him. I smiled. Because I knew what was coming next. I did not plan to ruin her life in a day. No, women like me take their time. I build legacies, and when needed, I dismantle them brick by brick. 3 days after that phone call, I had her name. Talia Myers. 27 years old. Blonde. Wannabe influencer. Fake accent. Real ambition. She worked at Brightspace Media, a digital marketing firm that handled social media accounts for realtors. Brian had met her during a promotional shoot for his agency. I smiled when I saw the company name. Brightspace was a firm recently absorbed by MG Holdings, my corporation. In other words, she was my employee. And she had no idea. That Monday morning, I walked into my penthouse office dressed in a dark green power suit and matching pumps. My hair was pulled back tightly. No lipstick. Just war. I called an internal meeting with the regional director over Brightspace. I did not use Talia's name directly. Instead, I said, I want to understand the lower tier hires. The faces behind our social media wings. Pull HR files from the last 12 months. I want pictures, contract statuses, everything. He gave me a strange look, but said nothing. In my world, when the boss asks, you obey. Talia's file landed on my desk 2 hours later. I opened it slowly, savoring every detail like fine wine. She was on a 6-month probationary contract. No health benefits. No protections. Her performance rating? Below average. Notes from her supervisor mentioned lateness, attitude, and personal distractions during office hours. I stared at her headshot. The same smirk she had used on the phone was frozen in that corporate photo. I wanted to rip it in half. But instead, I leaned back, smiled, and said out loud, you are about to learn what real power looks like. 3 days later, I sent an email through my executive assistant to arrange a casual talent lunch with a few junior staff from Brightspace. I personally requested Talia be one of them. I wanted to see her eyes when she realized who I was. We met at an upscale restaurant downtown, the Hollow Oak. Private room. High-end lighting. Real silverware. Talia walked in wearing a tight burgundy dress. Her perfume hit before she did, loud and sweet. She smiled at everyone, tossing her hair like she belonged. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, I saw hesitation. She did not know me yet, but something in her gut whispered danger. I stood and offered my hand. Melanie Grant. Welcome. She froze for a split second, then smiled. You are the Melanie? Yes, I said. The Melanie. Her grip loosened. Her fake confidence started to crack. She took the seat opposite mine. Her fingers twitched as she reached for the menu. The other junior staff chatted. I played gracious host. Talia barely spoke. She kept darting glances toward me, trying to figure out if I knew. She was sweating beneath that synthetic wig. After dessert, I asked the group one by one what they hoped to achieve at Brightspace. Each answered eagerly. Then it was her turn. Talia cleared her throat. I want to grow. Be useful. Learn from women like you. I leaned forward. I met her eyes with a dead smile. I hope so too. Because women like me? We never forget the ones who disrespect our name. Her wine glass shook in her hand. She knew. She knew now. Her mouth opened slightly, but I turned my head toward another staff member and changed the topic. She did not speak again. That same week, I started noticing Jordan Wells more closely. He was one of my firm's senior analysts. Mid-40s. Quiet. Sharp jawline. Divorced father of one. He had always been respectful, distant, but kind. I found myself drawn to his silence. The opposite of Brian's constant need for attention. One day, he knocked on my office door after a long board meeting. You looked like you needed a break, he said. He held out a fresh coffee from my favorite cafe. I stared at him. Thank you, I said. No one thanks you enough, he replied. He left before I could respond. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something stir in me that was not rage or pain. It was warmth. The coffee made me remember the first time Brian had betrayed me. It was 2 years ago. He had claimed to be attending a real estate conference in Miami. I believed him. He came home smelling like sunblock and cheap soap. 3 weeks later, I found a receipt for an adult boutique in his luggage. He told me it was a gag gift for a friend. I accepted that lie. Back then, I wanted to preserve the image of our marriage more than I wanted the truth. Not anymore. That weekend, I reviewed the security footage from our Savannah Beach house. I had access to the cameras. Brian had forgotten that. There she was. Talia. Dancing in a sheer robe on my deck. Drinking from my wine glasses. Playing house with my husband. At one point, she walked into the frame wearing my robe. The silk one my mother had given me on our honeymoon. She walked barefoot across the floor I had polished with my own hands. Then Brian appeared. Shirtless. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. She turned and whispered something. He kissed her. Passionately. Slowly. My stomach churned. I returned to the office that Monday with fire in my heart and ice in my voice. I called the HR head. Talia Myers is to be reviewed for breach of professional conduct, I said. She used company resources to carry out a personal relationship with a client. I want her suspended pending full review. I will also review her NDA. I suspect she shared proprietary social content with an outside party. It was all true. Within 48 hours, Talia was removed from her position. Her access revoked. Her emails flagged. She came to the building. She begged to see me. I refused. She stood in the lobby crying. Security asked her to leave. I watched the footage from my phone, sipping wine. He came home that night, slamming the door harder than usual. You had her fired, he yelled. I did not blink. I had my employee dealt with. For misconduct. She was not your employee. She was. Every dollar she made came from me. Every contract she signed had my initials hidden in the clause. His face crumbled. I loved her. I laughed. A real, bitter laugh. Then go live in her one-bedroom apartment. Oh wait. She just lost it too. You both did. He stood frozen. I walked past him, calm. You never cheated on your wife, Brian. You tried to cheat on your boss. There are many ways to end a marriage. You can walk out quietly, you can cry through it, or you can make it so unforgettable that even the devil takes notes. I chose the last option. After I had Talia removed from the company, I took a short trip to Savannah. Alone. I needed to breathe. I needed to step on the very floor she had disrespected and claim it again. The beach breeze whispered peace, but my mind was not there to rest. I stood by the water, thinking about all I had built, and how close I came to losing it over a man who could not keep his zipper up. I returned home the next day and decided it was time to deal with Brian, not just as a husband, but as a liability. I contacted my lawyer, Stephanie Bloom, a woman with the smile of a saint and the bite of a viper. I gave her everything: proof of infidelity, financial transactions, property ownership, and a video from the beach house security footage. Stephanie reviewed it all and said just one thing. You have him. Legally. Financially. Emotionally. It is over, Melanie. Let us finish it. I nodded. A week later, Brian received a sealed envelope. Inside was the divorce petition. Attached to it was a postnuptial agreement he had forgotten he signed 7 years ago, an agreement that handed over all joint assets in the case of confirmed infidelity. His reaction was just as expected. He stormed into our bedroom, face pale. You said you would never use that document. And you said you would never bring another woman into my home. She meant nothing. You spent our wedding anniversary with her. She needed me. I turned, slowly. I needed you. But I did not take my need between someone else's legs. He sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. For the first time in years, Brian looked powerless. Just a man who had built his ego on secrets, and now watched it burn. I will lose everything, he whispered. I stepped closer. You lost me the moment you put her in my robe. Court was swift. Stephanie made sure the evidence was ironclad. Brian tried to fight, but his lawyer looked defeated halfway through the proceedings. The judge, a stone-faced black woman who reminded me of my late mentor, read through the documents with a flicker of disgust. The final ruling came 2 weeks later, full custody of the boys awarded to me. All joint properties transferred. His business accounts frozen until further audit. Child support established. Divorce granted. Brian's face fell into his palms. He did not weep like a man losing his family. He wept like a man losing his reflection. 3 days after the court ruling, I received a visitor at my office. My assistant buzzed in. There is a woman named Talia Myers asking to see you. She looks broken. I told her to send her in. Talia entered slowly. She looked nothing like the girl who mocked me over the phone. Her hair was dull, her makeup patchy, and her confidence gone. She stood in front of my desk, hands trembling. I just wanted to say, I am sorry. I folded my arms. You are sorry you lost your job, or sorry you slept with a married man? Her eyes welled. I was stupid. I did not know who you were. I did not know how deep it went. That is what happens when you play games above your level. She nodded. I cannot find work. Your name is everywhere. Nobody wants to touch me. I leaned forward. Do you remember the day you called me? The day you mocked me like a little girl playing with someone's crown? She lowered her head. I remember. And now, you stand in front of me. Not as Brian's lover. But as one more woman who learned too late who I am. She bowed her head. Not in apology. In defeat. I dismissed her with a wave of my hand. She left without another word. 2 months passed. The boys adjusted better than I expected. They never asked why Daddy moved into a small apartment. They had their answer in the silence he left behind. And then, there was Jordan. The man who once handed me coffee quietly now stood by me boldly. We started going for long walks. Dinners. Conversations turned into comfort. One night, as the rain tapped softly on my windows, he reached across the table and held my hand. "You are not just strong, Melanie," he said. "You are breathtaking when you rise." He kissed me. It was not fireworks. It was not wild. It was slow. Healing. A kind of love that asked for nothing and gave everything. A month later, Brian showed up unannounced. "Can we talk?" he asked. I let him in. He looked older. Grayer. Lost. "I miss you." "I bet you do." "I made a mistake." "More than one." "I still love you." I stood quietly, then answered. "I will always be the best thing that ever happened to you. But you will never touch me again. Not as a man. Not as a friend. You buried what we had the day you let a little girl humiliate your queen." He opened his mouth. "I forgive you," I added. "But I do not want you." "That is worse, is it not?" He cried. Right there in my living room. I watched, then left the room. Some women burn things down in anger. Others rebuild in silence. I chose both. I lost a husband, but I gained myself. And I gained a new chapter that did not begin with betrayal, but with power, love, and peace. Talia mocked me on the phone. But in the end, she learned. I am the boss.